the most important one, ledger posting groups. So ledger posting groups are something like posting profiles. So for every module, we have posting profiles, right? Accounts payable, accounts receivable. Everywhere we link the main accounts. In the same way, ledger posting groups also will help you for linking the main accounts for different taxes, like for sales tax payable, for sales tax receivable, and for settlement. Okay. So let's see how it works. So we can go to the ledger posting groups. It's here in tax module. Sales under setup, under sales tax, you have ledger posting groups here. Tax setup, sales tax, ledger posting groups. Let's go. Let's edit this. Let's create new one. So you can create ledger posting groups. I'll just call it as GST again. GST posting groups. Okay, there here you have to give the account, sales tax payable account, sales tax receivable account, and one important is settlement account. So these are the three important accounts: sales tax payable, sales tax receivable, and settlement account. One important. This use tax payable and use tax expense and use tax payable are something which are prominent in other countries, not in India. But in these are the situations where you would retain the taxes and you will pay it to the authority directly, which means like um, at the time of sales, just like withholding taxes, you will keep the tax with you. We will not pay it to the vendor. Sorry, at the time of purchase, if you buy some goods from the vendor, you will not pay the taxes to the vendor. You will pay the remaining amount on the invoice except the taxes, and you will directly pay the taxes to the authority. At that time, that tax will be recorded as use tax payable. And use tax expense is uh, when you record it, if customer or someone who did not pay you the tax, and they will pay it directly to the authority. I think that should be the use tax expense. Or what else we have use tax expense, like we'll see the document later. First, now we'll just configure the sales tax payable, sales tax receivable, and settlement accounts, and we'll come back to the other topic in a while. So I'll just go here, create sales tax payable account and receivable account and settlement account. Okay. So just click on new. Sales tax payable is a liability account, right? So I'll give a liability number 2,90,000. Sales tax payable, and it's a liability. Save. Then I'll go with receivables. So I'll give it as 1,90,000. Sales, sales tax receivable. Give it as a set and save it. So there are two important things that we forgot actually. For the sales tax accounts that you create, you have to, in the main account, you have to give the posting type here as sales tax. That is important and compulsory. So here you have this option called sales tax for posting type. So that is compulsory that you have to give that here in the for the main account that you would create. And for this also we'll give sales tax payable also. We'll give the posting type here as sales tax. And this is important, guys. Then what else we have? We'll create the net tax account as well. So I'll just create it as a, you can create it as a liability only, since most of the times you have to pay it to the government rather than receiving it. So I'll just call it as net tax. Depends. It can be net tax. I'll just call it as liability or balance sheet. It all depends on how they maintain. So I'll just maintain it as liability only. And here also posting type, I'll give it as sales tax. Okay. And one second. Okay, I'll just save it and close this. Give the accounts here. 290 sales tax payable account. Then 190 sales tax receivable account. Then settlement account. Um, 291,000 net tax account. Okay, I just gave it here. So this use tax expense, use tax payable are situations where, when, let's say, suppose we are buying some goods from another state. So we are purchasing some goods from another state, and the vendor is delivering the goods from that state. Vendor is not charging any taxes for you because those goods are not taxable in his state. If you sell those goods in his state, that goods are not taxable. But within your state, if you are buying the goods are taxable. Okay, you have to pay the tax to your state authority, but vendor is not collecting any taxes from you. So at that time, what you will do, you will pay the invoice amount to the vendor and you don't pay any taxes because he's not levying any taxes. But you are liable to pay the taxes to the government or your government. So that's what we call as use tax payable. So use tax payable is a situation where vendor is not collecting any taxes from you, and but you are liable to pay the taxes to your own state authority or the locality authority who is collecting taxes from you. Coming to use tax expense, it is the same scenario. On the other side, when uh, on sales particularly, if customer is not liable to pay any taxes, or if you are not collecting any taxes from customer because those goods are not chargeable in their jurisdiction. But when you are selling such goods from your place, you have to pay the taxes to your government. So customer is not going to pay you any taxes. You from your business have to pay the taxes for the trade that you have done with the customer with your own money. So that is accounted as use tax expense actually. Not prominent in India, but in other countries like in US, there is the subject of use tax payables and use tax expenses because they have certain different rules compared from state to state. But in India, we have only one parallel tax rate, so it won't vary from state to state for the goods. So for all the goods that come into the GST component, so the tax will be the same around the states in India. But coming to other countries, it wouldn't be the same scenario. So they have this use tax payables and use tax expenses into picture. So not it doesn't really play a big role, or I don't see most of the clients using it, except in US sometimes. Other than that, since they don't have any role in that tax structure. So coming to this vendor cash discounts and customer cash discounts, so the taxes that are lost or deducted in the vendor cash discounts and customer cash discount in case if you are enabling a parameter to calculate cash discount or on taxes also. So most of the times when you levy any taxes on an invoice, the tax amount is excluded from the cash discount and the remaining amount of the invoice is given under cash discount, or that amount will be provided under cash discount. But if you are also giving cash discount on the tax amount as well, then it's a loss for you, right? If at all, for the customer, if you're giving it, then it's a loss for you. So that will be accounted to this particular accounts that you would give here: vendor cash discount and customer cash discount. Again, this is guided by a parameter in the general ledger parameters under sales tax, which we will discuss again. So then we will discuss this point. For now, I am just saving it as it is. Only these three accounts: sales tax payable, receivable, and settlement account I am given. For cash discounts and customer cash discount, I'm not giving any accounts yet since I'm not levying any discounts on taxes. If you have any, you can enable the parameter and then you can give the accounts here. So this is how we can create GST posting groups. So then we have done with three configurations: ledger posting groups until then we have sales tax codes, sales tax groups, and item sales tax groups. Let's see how we can create sales tax codes now. It's an easy setup. Sales tax codes are here in sales tax module. sales tax codes, tax under indirect taxes, sales tax and sales tax codes. We have it here. Okay, if you click on sales tax codes, you'll see an empty form here. You can delete this and you can create a new code here. So let me create one new sales tax code as SGST 2.5%. Do we have such code, guys? SGST 2.5%. What say? So we have that code SGST 2.5%. So I just created that code. State GST and central GST. We have rate SGST, CGST, and we also have IGST. So which is for the in, internal trades. So then SGST 2.5% I have created here. The compulsory fields that you have to give here is settlement period, ledger posting group. Settlement period is GST settlement period. We know that. And in the GST settlement period, we have already linked the GST authority. So automatically the authority will be linked to the tax code. If you link the settlement period here, then the ledger posting group is also compulsory where you have to give this GST posting group. It's this one. And you can save it. But the most important thing is if you forgot to give this percentage or amount here, which has to be given. So 2.5% you just gave in the name, but how system will know that it is 2.5%? It is showing a zero here. So for that, giving the percentage, we have the option here in the sales tax code called as values. So here, if you click on this, you have the option called as values. So in the values, you can give the percentage amount. Yes, 2.5, sorry, 2.5%. In, so you can also give an expiration date, start and end date for this tax, this particular tax amount, 2.5%. In case if government is charging 3% from next year, you can give until this year, 31st of December, you can give this as 2.5, and from starting from next month, 1st of January 22, you will give 3%. So from the next month, when you use this code, 3% will be levied. It is as so. Or you can create a new code, no problem. You can stop this code and create a new code. Can also give the minimum limit and maximum limit. So it is showing the lower amount limit of calculation base that the sales tax code is applicable to. You can give like if there is at least 100 per 100 rupees trade, $100 trade, then only 2.5% is applicable. If the invoice amount is less than 100, 2.5 is not applicable, or you cannot apply the tax. You can give a limit, minimum limit of the invoice amount on which this tax is applicable. And you can also give a maximum limit. So like if I give 1000, so until 1000, if the invoice amount is 100 to 1000, then 2.5% is applicable. If it is exceeding 1000, then this 2.5% is not applicable. So you can give that maximum limit on minimum limit and maximum limit of invoices either on the sales side or on the purchases side. Then non-deductible, there would be some non-deductible amounts in taxes. You can give like 0.5% is non-deductible, so that would be withheld. That is not deducted as a tax, so you can keep it with your business. You don't have to pay that kind of, some deductions will be there in some trade that can be given here for the code. So we'll again deeply discuss on this particular point as well as this menu options. So I'll create one more code as CGST 2.5%. Create the same here 2.5%. I'll give the settlement period as GST and ledger posting group also as GST. And I'll save this, but we have to give the percentage, right? So I'll go to this one, go to values, give the percentage as 2.5. Done. Save it, close it. So when you come back, you can see the percentage as 2.5 here. The same way you can see it as 2.5 here. So we also have IGST 5%, right? In case if you are not using CGST and SGST. So call it IGST 5% here. Give the sales settlement period as so. and ledger posting group as so, and within this I can give the values as, here I can give it as 5%. Okay, and I can see this one here created. So you have other options within the tax code where you have to select settlement period, ledger posting group, and currency. So the currency you can change if the valuation is different or the currency of the tax code is different, you can change the currency. But here we just leave it as US dollar, which is the accounting currency of this entity. And then conditional sales tax are something we have in business where tax is levied on tax or upon some conditions would be guided for the application of conditional taxes. This is prominent in Canada, conditional taxes. So you can give another code here for as a conditional tax. So two codes will be carried on the particular trade. Then sort code in case if there is any packing duty, you can give that packing duty code here. Generally the stamp code, I think, duty code. Then invoicing. Do you want to print the sales tax code name or do you want to print the sales tax rate on the invoice? So I want to print the code name because in the code name itself I gave the percentage also, right? So rate also I gave in the code name. So I better print it the code itself. So you can give the code name here if you want to print the code. So I'll just give the same here, IGST 5%. So that whenever I print invoices where this tax is applicable, this code is also printed. For the same, I'll give it here as well. And for this one also, I'll give it here. So when you print invoices normally, you will have your invoice breakup, right? The net amount of goods and then the taxes, tax amount, charge amount like that. So you will have this SGST 2.5%, this much amount like that. So that's there in this general menu. In this calculation menu, you have how the tax has to be calculated. Most often, these parameters are not changed. This will be as it is. Percentage of net amount. So tax will be calculated on the percentage of net amount. Net amount in the sense net amount of the line, excluding other things like charges and all. So whatever the amount that you have for the goods on that particular goods only tax will be calculated. So percentage of net amount will be the origin. So for what should be the base for the calculation of tax is percentage of net amount in an invoice line. Then we have percentage of gross amount, percentage of sales tax. Percentage of sales tax, if you select here, you will have this field open, means this is tax on tax. If you have a tax already levied and upon how much tax that is calculated on that another tax code will be applied. Suppose if invoice is for 1000 and there is already a tax code applicable for 10%, which is like 100 amount of tax. On that 100 amount, again 2.5% tax can be applied. So that is what we call as tax on tax. So in that case, you can give the tax on tax code here, the other tax code. And if you don't select it, it won't appear. Then you have amount per unit. So for every unit, you can collect tax. So for one unit, you can have this particular tax code applicable. So there are also such kind of businesses. So calculated percentage of net amount is one we have. So generally the most specific is this one, percentage of net amount. So you have this document here which would guide you through this one. Sales tax calculation, parameters, Dynamics 360. So this one. So how percentage amount is calculated, how percentage of gross amount is calculated. We have examples here. Percentage of sales tax, amount per unit and amount per unit additional options and calculated percentage of amount. Just go through this document. It is they have presented you with good definitions as well as examples. It will guide you through this one, how this will work. Sales tax rates based on marginal base and calculation methods. Net amount per line, net amount per unit, net amount of invoice balance, gross amount per line. Okay, also go through. So let's go back here. Here you have this marginal base as well. Net amount per line, net amount per unit. For each line, there will be separate tax calculated. For each unit separately, tax will be calculated. For total invoice balance, tax will be calculated separately. Net amount of invoice balance. So gross amount per line, gross amount per unit again. Invoice total inclusive of other sales tax amounts also. So in case if taxes on taxes is applicable. So most common is this one, net amount of invoice balance. So these are the two most common things which are by default taken here. So we don't have to change anything. But again, it depends on the requirement of the business. Some tax codes come up with different kinds of parameters. So that you can go through these two documents. Then calculation method, whole method or intervals. Whole method in the sense every tax will be paid at a time or calculated tax will be at a time they will calculate. But interval method means so taxes are calculated in interval again. So not entire tax will be calculated at a time, but they'll calculate it in intervals depending upon the amount of trade that you have done on a particular document or order. So, then allow negative sales tax percentage. So if you want to allow negative sales tax percentage, you can allow, but there won't be any such things called as negative sales tax percentages. In India, though we don't have, but in other countries there might be chances, so you can allow this option. Then rounding rules, in case if you have any rounding, if you want to round up the taxes to the next 10 cents or 5 cents, you can give the rounding rules. To the nearest 5 cents, it will round off, or the nearest 10 cents, it will round off. If you give this rounding rules, if you don't want any rounding rules and want to calculate it accurately in the cents as well, you can leave it as it is. Rounding method again, downwards, upwards, or normal. I'm selecting it normal and not selecting any rounding method. Then we have report setup. So this is all about the reports only. We don't have any standard reports for this all. We can customize some reports and give that reports here for the sales side, for the purchase side, for import duties. So if you want to customize, you can, but we have this one report, which is a US report layout standard report. So for all these things, this one US report layout only will help. So in the US report layout, we have reports for all these particular things, whatever we have sales and purchase and all. So they will be printed according to this US report layout. No need to specify each one of them. If you want unique reports, you can specify all of them here. And for report setup credit note, it is also the same. These are just all the report formats that you have to give here. But this one that you have given US report layout would be enough to print all these kind of unnecessary reports. But if you want any specific formats for them, you can create those formats in reporting, electronic reporting, and you can assign those formats here. So you have that option, but that requires little technical configuration. Okay. And that would be all about the sales tax codes. We can create many sales tax codes like CGST 6% we have. So I'll just create CGST 6%. So this compulsory thing, sales tax settlement period and sales year posting group, and save it. And then the value 6. Then you can create SGST 6%. Then sales tax settlement period GST, ledger posting group also GST. Then you give the number here, percentage as 6. Then you have IGST 12% combination, where you do not use CGST and SGST. You have total IGST 12%. Then you can go here and values, give 12% here. Save it and come back. So you can see it here. You can copy and give the same print code options here as well for the 6% codes. Okay, and you can create many more. Like we have one more, right? CGST. Oh, sorry, 9%. SGST 9%. Create one. Create one. Then go here. Then create one. Values. as 9%. Then you can create CGST 9%. Then you can create one called IGST 18%, which we have. So now the tax rates are being uh, changed in India. So they're going to levy more taxes on textiles as well as food. So 18% I just gave here, IGST 18%. You can see the amount here. So this is how we can create this codes or the tax codes for different purpose. So if you have any other rates, we can create other taxes also, other rates also. So that's how. So it is in India, we have only one tax authority or few tax authorities like income tax authority and customs authority, something like that. But it comes to US, for every state, you have one separate authority. So let's see that how US tax structure is there. So for now in this class, we are going to discuss until here tax codes. In the next class, we'll discuss on sales tax groups, item sales tax groups and the parameters. And after that, we'll go for application of taxes and how we can apply taxes on different journals. Later we go with here we have to work on operations, tax applicability, and then the sales tax settlements, then inquiries and reports. So rest of that we'll discuss in next further classes. I'll just show you how the tax is calculated or I mean tax structure is there in the USMF legal entity. So I'll just take you or walk you through the USMF legal entity just to show you the overview. Lost connection. 1 second, guys. It's so then I'll just change it to USMF. See here in USMF, if I go to tax module, if I go to authorities, so that will be here, right? Here, sales tax authorities. You see how many authorities are there in US. For every state on US, like you have 50 states, for every state you have authority. California authority, Colorado authority, Washington authority, Florida authority. Like you have multiple of them. Georgia, New Jersey, Texas, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Washington. All the for every state they have created one authority. It's their requirement in US. They will create as is because for every state there will be tax rates different. Every state. So if this company is operating in one state and their taxes are regulated to only one state, so they can keep that. But if they are doing trade with any other vendors or customers outside the state, again they have to create the other state authorities as well as their tax codes also. So this is how authorities are created. Coming to settlement periods, sales tax settlement periods, we have this one. So there are for every authority again they have specific sales tax settlement period. So on quarterly basis they are settling it. You can see there on some for some authorities they have yearly. So Washington DC annual they have given. So quarterly here, quarterly. This one is GN is generic. So this is also quarterly. And for every authority they have their own settlement period created. And then let's go to this one ledger posting groups. It's something here. When you see the ledger posting groups, you will be amazed. So here, when you see the ledger posting groups, see you don't have the option of sales tax receivable at all. Only sales tax payable is there. Means in US you will generally collect taxes from customers and you will account them. But the taxes that you paid to the vendors, you will not account them. Okay, that will be accounted in the company's the authority's website directly. How much tax you have paid to vendors, and the tax that you have collected, you have to pay to the authority at any time, and later you can claim the refund for the net amount. So that you have to evaluate and claim, or it will be shown in the authority's website. So you will have your company's unique GST ID, right? Normally, the same way in US also you have your company ID. For every invoice that you record, purchase and sell, your company ID will be there, or the ID you have linked registration number of your tax with the authority will be there. So accordingly, tax will be presented in the tax website of the tax authority. So from there you can look into the net amount and either claim refund or pay. But only sales tax payable will be accounted in US. Sales tax receivable will not be calculated. So use tax payable will be calculated sometimes when you have to pay taxes on your purchases. So as I told you, where you if you are buying it goods from other state and other state is not levying taxes, but you are liable to pay taxes, that will be accounted as use tax payable. So how this is disappearing means in general ledger parameters, actually we have one parameter, use sales tax taxation rules. Second, where is this general ledger parameters? It's taking a while. Here under sales tax, you have this option, apply sales tax taxation rules. If you apply this, you will have this that pattern that we have seen. If you disable this one, you will see the pattern that we have created earlier, right? For our company, Reliance, where, where you have sales tax payable and receivable. So that will be there. This parameter will control everything. In US, they will enable this parameter because this is for US tax rules, and other countries they will disable this since it is for this is not required for them. They want tax receivable also to be calculated. That's all. Then let's go for tax codes here in the US. So you will see tax codes. Lot of tax codes are there. Sales tax codes in USMF. See, for every state you will have tax code separately. Lot of tax codes are there depending on the state, city and all. And you will have the same and percentages too as well here mentioned. And the rest all are same. That's all. And what else we have? Let's see if it for any other country like DEMF. Let's see. It's a German based legal entity we have in this environment. DEMF. Dutch company, a German company. Not Dutch actually, German company. DEMF is so why we have Reliance here. Come on. DEMF. Okay. Let's go to tax module. Then to sales, so here sales tax authorities. So we have only one authority, Berlin Tax Authority, TA, Tax Authority. Berlin is the capital city of Germany. So Berlin Tax Authority is what we have. The selected report, a German report layout, which they have separately for them. Then settlement periods, sales tax settlement periods. We'll have only one monthly settlement periods here. Then coming to tax codes, you have this one, Euro 0, Euro 19, 19%, Euro 7%. So on purchases and sales, you have separate taxes actually, and you also have input VAT taxes and another external VAT taxes too. Then you also have sales tax settlement periods, ledger posting groups, where you have both taxes payable and receivable here. Sales tax payable, receivable both are here. They're also using use tax expense and use tax payables as well as this one. That's all. And any other country, let's see. Let's start with INMF is Indian company. Let's see what is there in India. So INMF is Indian legal entity. What we have tax, sales tax authorities. So we have these many authorities: CGST authority, GST authority, VAT authority, service tax. This VAT and service tax were earlier there, but we don't have enough, right? Excise authority and customs authority. We have multiple authorities created for India. We just created one only, just for example's sake, in our entity. Coming to sales tax codes, so you have different sales tax codes for customs as well as tax type. You have customs, excise, India, sales tax. So there will be certain different setups for this GST tax structure. So you have one other option called as tax component actually. So that would be introduced, and you don't have ledger posting groups mostly in the GST. It's a very big tax structure in India compared to other countries. See, you don't have tax ledger posting groups created at all because you will have automatically main accounts linked to different components that are there in the tax codes actually. So here we have this tax component, right? So for this tax component, somewhere we have linked some main accounts. So the GST configuration is slightly different. Then what all we have? So INMF is okay, but let's see another one. ITCO Contoso Italy. So in Italy, it is entirely different again. You have some different options called as sales tax books also. Somewhere there, it's not showing, but there is some other option here. We have Italian sales tax books here, which is also a very important configuration for Italy taxes. So there are certain localization features differing from country to country. That's how you can go through different legal entities which are given in your demo environment and check the different tax structures. If you want to study more on the taxes, you can go through the different tax structures in theoretically about different countries and then come back and look into the setups. Okay. Further, in the next class, we'll continue about our remaining topics to be discussed, groups, this one, and applicability of taxes. Okay. That would be all, guys.